Okay, so today's video we're going to do a quick explanation as to what we mean by highest common factor and lowest common multiple. Just to make you aware, in the future of this video I may write down HCF, that just means highest common factor, and I may also write down LCM, that means lowest common multiple, okay? Right then, so we should be happy with what we mean by a factor, we should be happy with what we mean by a multiple, okay? This time, instead of just looking at one number, you're going to look at two numbers, you're going to see what they have in common, and then depending on whether you're looking at the highest common factor, you'll look at factors. If they're looking at lowest common multiple, you look at multiples, and then you either want to look for the highest number or the lowest number. Okay, we'll talk about applications quickly before I do an example. So highest common factor, this is really important whenever you want to factorize something, okay? So in the future, when you're looking at algebra, you might want to take out the highest common factor of a few terms, so you want to know what the highest common factor is. Also, for any kind of simplifying of fractions, if you want to divide the top and bottom by the same number, you want to make that number the biggest possible factor, okay? So by looking for the highest common factor, you'll save yourself some working. For lowest common multiple, the main application for this is best by questions, and questions where you're doing working with like ingredients for a recipe, and maybe one of them is limiting what you can do, so you may have to find the highest common factor to try and solve that. Right then, so let's start off with the highest common factor. We're going to use the same pair of numbers for both, so highest common factor. Question may ask you to find the highest common factor of 12 and 18. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, just to illustrate what we mean by this, is I'm going to list all the factors of both. Okay, so it makes sense. Let's start from with 12. So you've got 1 times 12, they're both factors. Then you have 2 and 6, and then you have 3 and 4. If we go up to 4 here, we've already done 4, so we don't need to go any further. Okay, 18 is the same as 1 times 18. Don't forget that first one, it's always the easiest. It's even, so 2 must go into it. It is 2 times 9. 3, yep, 3 goes into it. 3 times 6. Does 4 go into it? Well, when we divide it by 2, we end up with 9. That's an odd number, so 4 won't go into it. It doesn't end in a 0 or 5, so 5 won't go into it, and we've already done 6, okay? So these are all the factors of 18, these are all the factors of 12. So, first of all, let's just list all the factors they have in common. Okay, so the common factors of 12 and 18, well, they've both got a 1. They've both got a 2. They've both got a 3. And they both have a 6. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so they're all the factors they have in common. All we're after is the highest common factor. So which one of them is the highest? Well, 6 is the highest, okay? So the highest common factor of 12 and 18 is 6. Okay, so that's the simplest case, okay? Highest common factor. Next up, we'll look at what we mean by lowest common multiple. So lowest common multiple. We're going to use the same numbers, 12 and 18. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to list a load of multiples of 12, so my 12 times table. I'm just going to keep going for a while, and then I'm going to list a load of my 18 times table, and then we'll look at what they have in common, and then we look for the lowest one of them. Okay, so let's do our multiples of 12. So our first multiple of 12 is, well, 1 times 12 is 12. Then we have 24, then 36, 48, and we're up to 5 times 12 is 60. Then we've got 72. Add another 12 is 84. Add another 12 is going to be 96. Add another 12 is 108. We'll leave it there. Okay, so these are all your multiples of 12. Now we're going to do our multiples of 18. So let's do that underneath. First of all, we start with 18. That's 1 times 18. 2 times 18 is 36. 3 times 18, so add 8 would be 44. Add 10, so it's 54. Okay, add 8 would be 62, add 10 would be 72. Add 8 would be 80, add 10 would be 90. What are we up to now? 6 times, we'll probably do a couple more. So add 8 would be 98, so 108. And wait, this is our last one. 8 add, add the 8 would be 116, add, so it's 126. Okay, now I've done dots after both of these because multiples go on forever. Okay, so unlike when we did common factors, we end up with a list of just well, a set number. So in this case, it was 4. If we were to list all of the common multiples, okay, common multiples of 12 and 18, that list would go on forever. Okay, so we can first of all look at the ones we've got in common. 36. 72, 108. Okay, this list will keep on going. You probably guess what the next one's going to be. It looks like we're going up in 36 times table. Okay, so this list does go on forever. Okay, so that's kind of a hint. If you're ever confused with whether it's either, you know, the highest common factor or the lowest common factor, or it's the highest common multiple or the lowest common multiple, the way I think about this is the multiples go on forever. So there is no highest common multiple, okay, because it will just keep on going. So that means we're always going to look for the lowest common multiple, okay? And that means the lowest common multiple of, what was it, 12 and 18, what we started with, 12 and 18 is, well, it's the lowest on this list, so it's 36.